Man, this comic book sucks! And the reviews online said it was good! I wasted my money! Why didn't somebody tell me?
Hey everybody, this is Spinner Rack, this is Petey, and
Your man, Calvin Ellis. Ready to rock.
we're back. We're doing comic reviews for you, and today we have a new one. It just started, Sacred Creatures, #1. Sorry, let me try that again. Sacred Creatures. I don't know why I just swallowed that up, but this is new #1, and this has the great Klaus Janson as a collaborator on this. This issue, he's a part of the story. Later on, I believe, either issue 4, he'll be doing some of the, I guess, an earlier backtrack story where he will supply the art. But it's going to be, 2 artists on the book. And so far, this is the first one. This story starts off in the dark, I guess in sort of like a hotel where you have these dark figures that have some mysterious powers, or they don't know if they have powers yet, but they're mysterious, and they say that someone has died. They say that this character has died, and did you get the pendant and those? So there's a mystery starting up. And then the next scene, we have this character named Josh Miller. He has this top of this, what is it, spear, on top of a spear, and there's blood all over it, and blood all over him, and then there's these police that come down.
Spearhead?
Spearhead, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. There's a spearhead, and then he's like, he's caught by the police. And then we backtrack again, and we get to this normal life of Josh Miller. He has a pregnant girlfriend. He struggles, his mother, not his mother-in-law, but his girlfriend's mother doesn't necessarily like him. He's going for an interview that's at the museum. So he's like, it's all in New York. And the interesting part of this story is how they sort of did it, because it's obviously taking backgrounds from cities in New York and skylines. You can see a little skyline in our picture, but I think they either use it a doctorate in Photoshop, but and you think, okay, he's just cutting and pasting, but the hard part is to keep all the stuff in perspective. And you'd think it'd be easy, but they have to, when they draw in the characters, keep everything in perspective, and it works in that sense. The hard part of this is that they're jumping around. So you're introducing a new character and new stories, and a ton of characters in here already. I already talked to you about the people that's in the hotel, the mysterious figures. Then you have Josh and his family. And then you go on, there's this guy that's helping him, but he seems to be on the side of those mysterious characters. And then when you go to another interview, there's some more characters that they interview, and they're adding into the story. So when you get to all this stuff, then you have this priest that comes in and helps them, and that's where the big action comes. The priest helps them. They go back to the hotel where he has the spearhead. He's like, he's in this thing. The guy saves him, and then there's these cat creatures that came out of nowhere. But the priest has powers too. But it's a double side, so it's a lot of stuff to take in, and I don't think they should have jumped around time-wise. I think they should try to keep it as linear as possible, maybe one jump in the head, but while the cat action's going, they have another interview happening, and it's like, I'm not sure they should have done that. But otherwise, I think it's a gorgeous book. Character's okay. I like to see where it's going. I want to see what happens. I at least want to get as far as see what Klaus gets when he starts to draw it, and see what happens at that point. But it's not, we reviewed, I forget the name of that other book that we reviewed. It had characters almost similar, but the art was just so wonky. It was hard to follow.
Was it Saga?
No, not Saga was even that. But we can use Saga as a reference because it's at the same time.
Was it the other one with the?
Yes, the Midnight. Was it? I forget what his name. But we had the Django guy. Remember? It
I remember.
It went to England and that sort of thing. But it's so murky.
The nude scene.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that was murky that should be seen. This one gives you the opposite. This one gives you setup. This one gives you some fight stuff, but it gives you a nice backdrop, the backgrounds, and it's one of those things that you have, like I would say back in the older Todd McFarlane, some of the strengths that he had, or who was it? Marshall Rogers that had a good sense of background. And this one might be using doctoring photographs, but keeping them in perspective from panel to panel and keeping your eye going the right way, that's a hard thing to do. So I commend them on doing that. I just think it's kind of jumbled, and I'd like to see where it's going. I wish it would be a little more linear before they decide to sort of jump around. So what are your feelings on it, Cal?
Oh, this was tough. This was tough because I'm expecting from most indies that I'm going to go in is going to be a lot of reading. That's usually how it goes. But this was a mixture of indie style and superhero comic style. We had these large, really nice splash pages. And then you would go back and have to read. So I was like, okay, this is like stop, start, almost like Double Dutch to a certain extent. But the amount of characters, this is like Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, and
Right,
they didn't
yeah.
give you the time to read. It's just a lot. It was a lot of characters. It was a lot of characters, and it's double sized too. So, you know, I get to the end of it, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to read this again, which is usually the loss of a star.
Yeah.
This is usually the loss of a star because you know, I want to keep, it's not that I like, you know, Klaus Janson. That's one of the reasons I was willing to pick this up, have a look at it. I think he's from the old school in terms of storytelling, where he understands what he wants to get across to the reader and, you know, what the reader should be able to enjoy. So I didn't have any issue. I said, look, I'll give this, you know, I'm going to give this a fair go. Just a lot of characters, and you know, it's a murder mystery. So I'm like, okay, I'm ready for Hercule Poirot to, you know, to come out any time now and say, okay, don't worry, leave the deducing to Poirot, you know, at the end of it. But I mean, you know, aside of that, and those to be honest, are really, you know, personal touches. I mean, some dynamite art overall, you know, and if you're willing to take the time to actually read it and go a bit slower than I did, you know, then I think you shouldn't have any problem. I think you shouldn't have any problem with it. Now, would I go back for issue 2 to read this? Oh, for Klaus Janson, yes, I would go and read issue 2 because I think that's the only way I could give it a fair go. To be honest, for Klaus Janson, I would probably read, you know, up to issue 4 just to be, you know, okay, fine. I think by 4 issues, should have a good. Most stories are resolved in 4 issues anyway, so by issue 4, I should have a good understanding of where this is going. The only thing that would probably knock me out is if the art chores start changing issue to issue. Yeah. That's going to totally take me out of it because you did 2 issues in that one issue of this artwork, and I need the storyline to be wrapped up with those visuals, you know, for me to really feel fulfilled by the end of it. But aside of those personal quirks, you know, if you're willing to invest in it, like I said, it wasn't horrible, okay? You do have to pay attention, which for me does lower the score. I don't think you should have to pour over anything. I mean, some novels are dense and some novels are freewheeling. In this type of format, comic books, I don't think you should have to pour over it unless you're hiding stuff of detail in the art. And you're overpowering the readers with the amount of characters you are. So, you know, that's the only strike that I could give this.
Yeah. So, it was. I would say that's saying like having to strike a point possibly for even the bar scene or the part where he runs into his baby's mother in the story and she can't see all of the changes in him. She's only reacting to him being drunk and not being around for a few days. I think if you see this sort of weird stuff in his eyes around his skin, you'd be like, what's happening? Not just, oh, somehow he has this, you know, these lips etched on his skin. It's like, it's not etched, but it's supposed to show that he was kissed on. That, like, it'd be sort of a blemish. It's like too perfect on there. So I would take away a point. I would want to give this a 3, but I'm only giving it a 2. But it is a 2 with a recommend to go out and check it out. So what do you give it?
Well, I'm going to be higher. I'll give it a 3. Okay, so it'll end up averaging out at 3. But to be honest, a lot of this is, you know, Klaus Janson in terms of name recognition, where I don't believe he would attach himself to something that wasn't promising at the end of the day. Don't believe me, you have to see some of Klaus Janson's work outside of. I don't know how he didn't really do too much. He didn't have a lot of the plotting with Daredevil, but if you see some of his Punisher work where he was doing the writing and the art chores on it, some really nice stories there, and some of the other stuff he's done outside of it. So I don't believe he would attach his name to something that wasn't going to be a quality effort. Quality effort. I don't know where it's going to land. You know, I know it'll take off. I don't know where it's going to land, and so I'm willing to give it a little bit more room there. But yeah, I mean, most of the stories that we're coming across today, they have either some issues when it comes to the plotting, when it comes to, you know, the point of view, and or you know, characterization. And here, you can't overload people on characters, especially since you did a double-sized issue, which means you didn't have to overload anybody on characters. But hey, we'll see.
Well, I'll just add the last bit of, if you're doing something that's a lot of, you know, what was it, like talking heads, even if you have these gorgeous background, it's harder to keep the reader if you're like, because most artists work reversely. It's like, where's the action? I'm gonna condense the story parts here, and then the action is gonna be action, 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 then a little bit of story, then a little bit of action on the end. Whereas Bendis I'm gonna blame Bendis. He's reversed it, where it's like, let's have this setting for him to talk in. Let's have this setting. Okay, we'll get to the action, but we got some time here. And it's like, let's not say the character's name as soon as possible. Let us know who they are. Because I'm like, who knows? Josh Miller. Where is the good woman's name? Where is the woman's name? Julia. It's like way in the story where he finally gets. I mean, I understand in real life, I'm not going to say Cal every 2 minutes every time I see him, but that sort of thing. But at the same time, it's a story for a new reader. You need to say, if I don't say my name here every episode, I don't know if you're going to go back and see the other ones where we first said it.
And my character retention is, I mean, I'm a long-time comic reader, novel reader, so my ability to retain the name and thrust of a character is usually better than the average person. But you got to at least give me the name of the character.
So go out there and check it out. You know, it's it's fun. It's definitely for the art. The art is very interesting what they did. In some places, it seems like it's exactly a photo undoctored. So
yes,
check it out. Definitely check it out. And thank you guys for watching. You know, write and subscribe. The comments have been great. It's fun arguing and/or appreciating you guys.
Spinnerack out.
Thanks, Spinnerack. You saved me money.